Early voting is underway across Texas. Two statewide measures are on the ballot. Tonight we break down what they both mean. Plus, Texas A&M is improving its nursing program. We look at what's new. And the weather was great here in the Brazos Valley today following yesterday's rain. Matt Hines has the latest forecast. Your 25 News starts right now.
Connecting the Brazos Valley. This is KRHD News.
Thanks for joining us tonight. I'm Brittany DeFran. Early voting is open once again in Brazos County ahead of May 7th for the special election. Folks can vote for two state propositions and two Brazos County propositions regarding service districts number 3 and 4 concerning the local and used sales tax. For those looking to participate in early voting for the election, voters should already be registered and will be required to bring a valid form of identification. More counties in the Brazos Valley have special elections underway. In Burleson County, Snook, Somerville, and Caldwell ISD school boards have open seats up for election. Votes must be casted for these positions by May 7th. For those wanting to know more on the candidates in Caldwell, the community is planning a candidate forum for April 28th at the Caldwell Civic Center. Two amendments to the Texas Constitution have been proposed for the May 7th ballot. The amendments could affect property taxes and public schooling. The first proposition reduces how much elderly and disabled citizens pay in property taxes to public schools. The second proposition increases the amount of property tax exemptions a person can receive. Local political party members express mixed feelings over the amendment, particularly in how this will affect schools.
I support the concept of lower taxes, clearly, but I'm quite concerned that the legislature only came up with a short-term answer to how to make up for the lost revenue.
There is a level of administrative bloat in public schools, and the issue is no longer how much money they receive, but how it's being spent.
Both political parties are concerned that not enough Brazos Valley residents will get out and vote. For more information on how and when to get to the polls, visit brazosvotes.org. Texas A&M University is no stranger to integrating virtual reality into education, and now VR has made its way into a new nursing program. The Texas A&M College of Nursing has introduced virtual reality to students. This will help them gain hours of experience in patient care through VR simulations. Since launching in early 2020, nursing majors have had the option of two immersive simulations. Students have virtually explored the world of patient care, forensic nursing and screening, briefing intervention, and referral to treatment or ESPRIT.
It really helps increase confidence levels, especially with that screening, brief intervention, referral to treatment type of situation. Some of those questions can be a little bit personal and are difficult to ask, especially when you're asking somebody to admit if they have an issue with substance abuse or misuse.
The VR nursing simulations were designed and created through a collaboration with students in the Texas A&M School of Visualization and Architecture. A new tool to fight Lyme disease is on the horizon. Pfizer says its latest experimental vaccine to treat the disease showed positive results. The company says it will start a new trial that will include children and adults. Lyme disease cases in the U.S. have tripled since the late 1990s. The rise has led the CDC to push for new tools to prevent tick-borne diseases. Currently, there are no vaccines for Lyme disease on the market. For years, daily low-dose aspirin was recommended to prevent heart attack and stroke. Scientists now see little benefit for most healthy people and say it may contribute to a risk of bleeding in your stomach or brain. As you get older, that is. It's the latest from the U.S. Preventative Service Task Force. The group now says people over 60 should not start taking daily aspirin for primary prevention of heart problems. Talk with your doctor before you start, stop, or change your medicine. Many hospitals and doctors' offices around the country may not have the equipment they need to treat patients. Ongoing supply chain issues and higher prices have made it difficult for medical professionals to get their hands on wheelchairs, crutches, canes, and even exam tables. Right now, it's taking 2 to 3 times longer for medical offices to get much needed equipment.
Topping the newsfeed, U.S. Supreme Court justices heard arguments about a controversial immigration policy today. President Biden wants to end a policy that lets U.S. border officials turn migrants away because of public health concerns like COVID-19. But critics say this is likely to cause a greater surge of migrants at an already stressed border. Family members of COVID ICU patients may emerge with post-traumatic stress disorder. That's according to a new study in JAMA Internal Medicine. Researchers surveyed family members in the months after a loved one was admitted to the ICU with COVID. The study found about 63% had significant symptoms of PTSD. Well, Beijing is now enforcing lockdowns and expanding its mass COVID testing efforts amid a new COVID-19 outbreak. Now, while there are only 70 cases found since the outbreak surfaced on Friday, authorities have rolled out strict measures to prevent further spread. Well, it should now be easier to get the antiviral pill treatment for COVID. The White House said today it's increasing education outreach to both the public and doctors. They're hoping this will encourage prescribing Pfizer's pill to eligible people. Over the next few weeks, it plans to make this treatment available at nearly double the number of places. It also plans to federally support establishing additional test-to-treat locations. The pill treatment needs to be taken soon after contracting the virus. It's been shown to reduce hospitalization and death by around 90%. Well, the Army is expanding benefits for pregnancy and parenthood. This will cover both birth and non-birth parents. A group of soldiers has been pushing for the changes that will now include more than 400,000 parents. Soldiers who give birth, adopt, have long-term care for a new child, or are single parents will now be excused from deployment and field training for 1 year. Soldiers undergoing fertility treatment will also be exempt from a permanent change of station for up to a year. Well, interest on a payday loan can be up to 400%. Coming up next in our lineup, why a program to help curb those costs hasn't been getting some of the people who need it most.
More than 120,000 pounds of ground beef is getting recalled over E. coli concerns. Details on what you need to know next. Over 120,000 pounds of ground beef have been recalled by the U.S. Department of Agriculture over E. coli contamination concerns. The recalled items were produced from February 1st to April 8th and sold at Walmart. If you think you may have affected products in your refrigerator or freezer, check the USDA Mark of Inspection for establishment number 46841. If you have any of the recalled beef, throw it out or return it. No confirmed cases of E. coli from these items have been reported yet. Wells Fargo is facing some legal trouble in a class action lawsuit against the banking company. Lawyers say their discriminatory mortgage practices are, quote, killing black community opportunity, that is. They're asking Wells Fargo shareholders to approve an independent racial equity audit. Wells Fargo characterizes the lawsuit as, quote, unfounded attacks that won't stand up to scrutiny. Home prices have jumped nearly 20% since this time last year. The S&P CoreLogic Case-Shiller released its new National Home Price Index. It reports a 19.8% price jump year after year for February. Cities with the biggest jumps include Phoenix, Tampa, and Miami. Some home buying analysts say the momentum the housing market is seeing could soon be affected by rising inflation, further interest rate hikes. It's not just food getting more expensive. The oil you use to cook with is also impacting your wallet. Cooking oil prices have been rising worldwide since the COVID-19 pandemic began, and Russia's war in Ukraine has sent those costs skyrocketing. Ukraine and Russia are the world's top exporters of sunflower oil. Restaurants that rely on cooking oil are also being forced to raise prices for customers.
Taking a look outside on our Clark Roofing Cam, you can see things are pretty quiet tonight as the rain has moved away. Mostly clear sky, 71 degrees, dew points at 55, so that's come down. So we don't have quite as much moisture out there. Winds are out of the northeast at 5 miles per hour. That's going to allow it to continue to cool off for tonight, and it should be in the 50s as we make our way into the morning hours as we have clear skies across the area. And again, with those lighter winds, those temperatures will continue to fall off for us. There are some clouds back to the west as you head west of I-35, then down into the hill country and over towards San Antonio. A lot of that's staying away for right now. But I do think we'll see a few more clouds start to roll in as we head into the overnight hours tonight. And by morning, a few of those low clouds will be across the area. But again, I'm not expecting anything too significant out of this as all the moisture has been squeezed out of the atmosphere. So not anticipating any rain as we head through the day on Wednesday, just partly cloudy skies across the region and looking pretty good. And Thursday and Friday is also looking pretty good as well. So tonight, temperatures will be making their way down into the 50s. We'll go about 53 Bryan, College Station, 55 Caldwell, Rockdale, and Somerville. And then as you head off to the northeast, I think with those clear skies, we could be flirting with a couple of upper 40s near Centerville and Madisonville. Then tomorrow, highs into the upper 70s to near 80 degrees. It should be a wonderful day. Normal high is 81, so right at or just below normal. As we make our way into tomorrow afternoon and looking at your forecast here, we will see those temperatures 79 going up to 84 on Thursday. Friday, 86 degrees, and then a 20% chance of some isolated thunderstorms Saturday and Sunday. I think better chances will probably be to the west of us, but we'll continue to track that. Highs will be in the upper 80s. It will be a breezy weekend as well. Then maybe a slightly better chance for a few showers and storms on Monday, and we'll keep that at 40% before it dries out, and maybe some 90s by the end of the 10-day forecast.
Every year, more than 12 million borrowers takes out payday loans. It's happening in the more than 20 states where this type of lending is allowed, and interest rate caps are not in place. The interest rates on these loans can be nearly 400%. No-cost extended repayment plans are an option for paying off these loans in more than a dozen of those states. That means you could repay only the principal and fees that you were already charged. You could split that balance over several months. But according to recent research from the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau, these plans aren't working as intended.
It's not surprising that these particular laws aren't working because we do know the well-documented research and harms behind payday lending in general. So it's not surprising that the product is still keeping people in a debt trap as designed.
The savings from a no-cost extended repayment plan can be substantial. Research from CFPB shows on a typical $300 loan, you would pay $45 in rollover fees every 2 weeks until the principal and fees are paid off. That means after 4 months, you would have paid $360 in rollover fees and still owe the original $300. If you entered a repayment plan, after the first rollover, you'd only end up paying $345 over an extended period.
It seems like a lot of consumers don't know about these repayment plans. And again, the consumer eligibility really varies from state to state. So it would be difficult for a consumer to know without contacting their lender about the plans.
The Bureau has found that some payday lenders are deceiving borrowers by misrepresenting or withholding information about this option. The trade group that represents the payday loan company says they work to ensure every customer has a positive experience with their products, that the people are not only informed of their options like extended payment plans, but take advantage of them. The Center for Responsible Lending is pushing for a 36% interest rate cap across the board on payday loans. With all the cybersecurity job openings, some recruiters have a new focus. Ahead in our lineup, the unique skill they say the formerly incarcerated have for this type of role and how it's giving them a second chance at life. Delta Airlines will now pay flight attendants during boarding. The newsfeed starts with today's announcement, making a first for a U.S. carrier. The move comes amid a unionization drive. Delta is the only major airline whose flight attendants aren't unionized. Fidelity will offer investors the option to put Bitcoin in their 401ks by the middle of this year. Now, as the nation's largest retirement plan provider, its decision could make crypto even more popular and mainstream. Regulators have cautioned against mixing cryptocurrencies in 401ks. Volatility is among their concerns. Double Olympic snowboarding champion Chloe Kim will sit out this upcoming season to focus on her mental health. Kim says she just wants to enjoy the moment, take it all in, and take a break. She says she'll chase after a third medal when she's feeling ready. Well, anti-Semitic incidents reached an all-time high in the U.S. last year. The Anti-Defamation League released those findings today. There were more than 2,700 incidents of assault, harassment, and vandalisms against the Jewish community. That's averaging more than 7 incidents a day. Many of them happened around the time of war between Israel and Hamas. But experts say there's been a rise in hate crimes against all groups throughout the pandemic.
This isn't something that we should consider, oh, let's let this blow over once the COVID-19 happens, once COVID-19 is over, but it's something that really we should take into consideration and try to figure out how do we respond to this so that it prevents such similar incidents from taking place in the future.
The report found there were increases in anti-Semitic attacks in a number of places. Jewish community centers, synagogues, as well as colleges, with the largest rise at K-12 schools.
But it's also a problem that schools need to figure out how to address, because kids that are so young in age, that are so vulnerable, are unlikely to go straight to a police officer. They're more likely to go to a trusted friend or a trusted teacher or a trusted principal. And so it's important for schools and colleges and universities to start thinking about who should these kids go to? What does the reporting process look like? And should it reach the level of a crime, let's make sure it does absolutely go to law enforcement.
Janice Iwama studies hate crimes. She says they're underreported and often just reported as violence if a victim comes forward. She says people think it's only happening in bigger cities, but that's actually where there is the most cooperation between local law enforcement, local Jewish communities, and organizations like the ADL.
We already noticed that there are some trends with the FBI reporting that some law enforcement agencies no longer want to report hate crime data, which is a huge concern for us, because the FBI hate crime data allows us to better understand the size and scope of the issue in order to address it and create some evidence-based practices that simply focus on those targeted areas.
People who have been in prison are also being recruited to fill some of the tens of thousands of cybersecurity job openings in the U.S. Chris Stewart shows us why the people working to get them hired say they're uniquely qualified.
A lot of the time when people talk about hackers, you see this, a guy in a hood in a dark room typing on a computer.
The idea of hacking is so much more than just a computer now.
It's bigger. And the more we get into technology, the bigger it gets.
We're here talking with cybersecurity instructor Ida Bird-Hill. She teaches the people who will one day be tasked with keeping your info safe.
I just think that we're naive just because we're safe. And we take our safety for granted.
About 90% of data breaches aren't as high-tech as you might expect.
Cybersecurity is really not 100% techie. I would say it's probably more emotional and psychological than people think.
One example, when we get an email saying a new expensive item is being shipped to us, hackers are playing on our fear that we've mistakenly ordered something. We're driven by our emotion to click on the hacker's link. At Ida's school, Automation Works. Her mission is to create diversity in an industry that is 75% white men. Separately, she says the industry can benefit from embracing those who've had run-ins with the criminal justice system. We asked Malia Salam about that. Her organization, Detroit at Work, helps those who have left prison find jobs.
Martha Stewart is she's a returning citizen. There are all sorts of people who, have a criminal or felony background, but they have viable skills, they have integrity, and once they pay their debt to society, they deserve a shot.
So you need more people who are in that mindset and who could think like a criminal to be able to face off against a hacker, because all a hacker is a criminal.
And as we did research for this story, hey, Louis, how are you? Thanks for doing this. We heard about a man named Louis DePayne. Did you at that point in your life consider yourself a hacker?
I never really bothered with labels.
He knows the hacking scene firsthand.
Hacker certainly fits.
20 years ago, he spent time on house arrest after the feds busted him for playing a role in an effort to hack a phone company's software.
You can read from a textbook, you can learn from a textbook, and you can apply textbook examples to real life. But a security incident, especially one, let's say 5-10 years from now, it's not going to be in a textbook. So you need people who can think outside the box.
The White House has urged companies to fill the estimated 600,000 empty cybersecurity jobs in the U.S., concerned a gap in workers will make it easier for hackers. Many times, cybersecurity jobs pay more than $100,000 a year, and to Ida, that is an opportunity.
To go from 20,000, 30,000, 40,000 a year to 100,000 is a major lifestyle leap. And it impacts your children, it impacts the people around you, it changes a community.
A chance not just to defend our nation against an increasing threat, but help it grow from within. In Detroit, I'm Chris Stewart reporting.
All right, thanks for that, Chris. Well, a final check of the lineup. Elon Musk is starting to lay out plans for his intended takeover of Twitter. We're looking into some of the pros and cons and what this could mean for users. With Elon Musk set to take over Twitter for $44 billion, he's talking about some major changes to the platform that could minimize the number of ads on there.
Elon Musk is like, well, you know what if we just try to change this business and actually make the business model more subscription-based than really relying on advertising revenue, which has really been sort of the core business model for most social media companies.
Last year, Twitter started offering Twitter Blue, which is a $3 a month subscription. But marketing expert Adam Raziri says this never really took off because it didn't offer many additional features. If Musk privatizes the company like he wants to, there would be more room for what can be offered. However, taking the company private would also mean Musk could block business competitors from using Twitter if he wanted to. But in a tweet, Musk suggests he won't be doing this, saying, quote, "I hope that even my worst critics remain on Twitter, as free speech and less moderation are also things Musk wants for the platform."
With access, obviously, comes a different sort of layer of accountability and responsibility as well. And so with kind of loosening the guidelines or the restrictions on free speech, it's obviously going to expose a lot of brands to make a lot of mistakes, right? But at the same time, I think it's going to allow a more diversified sort of layer of messaging and communication to take place on the platform.
He says that could create a marketplace for more or many good ideas to take off, but also a lot of bad ones. Less moderation on speech is another approach Twitter tried to take about 10 years ago. That didn't end well. With more room for opinions also came more room for online abuse and harassment. Musk hasn't yet addressed that in his plans. Well, cities are rolling out new strategies to build more housing faster. Tomorrow, we're looking into the approach that's working to incentivize new development and create affordable housing.
Jimmy Kimmel is up next. Good Morning Texas is on the air tomorrow at 5 a.m. Thanks for joining us. Have a good night.